parent, you think, I remember when my daughter said, I want to be a ballerina, a violinist, photographer. And at first you think, okay, I want to produce a movie. I want to write my script. And then my friend said, she can actually do it on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can actually, because then I said, well, you have to find an investor. You have to, and she said, are you telling me that I can't do it? And I actually had to stop and say, no, I'm sure there are creative ways. And as parents, I think that's the second, really important tip is not to crush our children's dreams. If they want to be, the next Michael Jordan, they want to be the next, right?
Hey, welcome back to Hawaii Real, everybody. I'm your host, Io Ke'ehu, and I'd like to say a quick shout out to our beverage host, Hawaiian Springs Water. I love this water. It is pH 7.7 alkaline, so that is going to be a little bit more healthy for you than the regular, typical acidic type of drinks or foods or stuff like that you have. And it's supporting local businesses. This water is out there from the Big Island. Have you tried this water, Karen?
I have.
Have you tried? Oh my God.
Amazing.
It's delicious stuff. And I like the bottles.
Very pretty.
My boys like the bottles because when, the bottle flip.
Oh.
These things are they're bottom heavy, so they flip really well. Who would have thunk it, right?
Very cool.
It's a great supporting sponsor. So today I have with me Karen Gibson. She's the owner of Letting Go with Aloha and a parent, coach, and author. And her book that she just came out with after the pandemic, 100 Parenting Tips Inspired by the Pandemic. And is this on?
It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Play.
So you can get an ebook as well?
Yes, you can.
Cool. Very cool. But it's not your first book.
It isn't. My first book is called Mama's Gotta Let Go, How to Let Go Without Losing Your Sanity. So that went, I published that, self-published, a month before the pandemic.
Nice. Wow. So the month before the pandemic, you published a book, and then throughout the pandemic, you're writing another one.
I was just starting to record parenting tips and decided to turn it into a book.
See, that's making the most out of your time. That's great stuff. I love that kind of aspect. Hey, I'm staying home, not working. Yeah, let's write a book.
Let's write a book.
So good. And you're also the founders for Brain Builders.
Brain Builders is a private tutoring company that I started in 1999. So a lot of my students are parents now, and I've been tutoring some of their kids. So it's kind of interesting that.
Nice. So which one would you say is more your passion?
Well, my new passion is parent coaching because I'm realizing we cannot parent the way that we used to parent. I call it the rubber slipper method. And a lot of
that one.
And we're not realizing that if you do not emotionally connect with your child and you just start that, I'm the boss, you better do it my way. Mm-hmm. Slowly rebellion sets in, followed by resentment. And then there is an emotional disconnect because then you will, have resentful kids, then you'll have stressed out parents, and the whole family dynamic can.
It's like there's a whole generation of 20 to 30-year-olds that are just like that.
Yeah, so we have to parent differently, It's society's changing, but we seem to want to parent the way that we were parented, and it's not very effective.
Doesn't work, especially with this new digital age and communication and knowing so much, having information at our fingertips.
Readily available, social media, the whole, like you said, high tech. They're building their own computers. They're just having a whole different experience than we did as children.
Mm-hmm. So through the pandemic, is there a few tips that you wanted to touch on from your book?
Yes, definitely. I think if there was one tip, a lot of us are struggling with the distance learning. And I think a lot of parents think that they should be the teacher. And as an educator, I've realized I cannot even be my own daughter's educator. And I felt like a failure. But I think as a parent, the one thing we can do is just be there emotionally for your child and ask them, if your child is perhaps failing or maybe not turning on their camera or something is going on, but we're just focusing on grades. That's the one tip, just because if you don't take care of your child's mental health, everything's going to fall apart.
I can see that.
But we don't realize it. We're just so goal-oriented. You must achieve. You must get into the right college. You have to have that 3.8. You have to take the AP classes and the pressure they're under. I mean, you have 8-year-olds wondering what college are we going, and I think, they're third grade. Miss Karen, I don't want to be homeless. My parents said that. I'm thinking, wait a minute. So I did confide. I said, don't tell your parents, but your grades will not matter. I'm not saying that it's not good to have good study skills. But if they think that grades at a 7th grade level will determine, and they're like, but if you go to Harvard, right, they're going to check your grades. I'm like, well,
Did they check your 7th grade
yeah.
grades? They do?
No. So
Okay.
I said,
I was like,
usually
wow.
it's junior, senior year. I said, but the reason why
Sure.
parents do this is because they want you to implement, good study skills. And if that starts at a younger age, but they're not policing your report card. So I don't know if parents, if I might be ruining a lot of parents, like that's their motivation, right?
Sorry, parents.
Yeah.
You're not going to get assistance from me on that level. It's like, hey, I want to make sure my kids do their work and build those study practices and build the concept of trying, failing, trying harder,
Yes.
adapting, and overcoming, doing your research, looking for stuff. Mommy and daddy ain't going to give you all the answers. Sorry.
Well, I love that. See, but I have a lot of parents who say we do not get B's in this household. And that pressure to succeed. I was just reading something the other day where companies and colleges, they want to see the occasional F. They do not want to, like employers, they don't want to see high GPAs. They don't see all these accolades. They want to know if you can emotionally connect with peers, with the managers and the upper management. Because if you can't get along, it doesn't matter if you have the 4.2 summa cum laude.
No, it doesn't at all. Especially when you're like 35. Nobody cares what grades you got in high school.
Exactly. And even if you went to a college, you're not going to say, well, in 4th quarter, did you really get a C? Are you, someone told me that, do you get more money as a doctor if you had higher GPA? And these kids don't realize, it's not all about grades.
It's not. To an extent, if you're really looking at college, but even with the distance learning thing, and the modern digital age, you're finding, hey, kids are sometimes being spectacularly successful without the college education that they either had, or they're just circumventing the college education and being successful in completely different avenues.
Right. They're so creative. And I think they're realizing that you can achieve, monetary success. You can do all of that, create your own business, which was not as, we couldn't really do that long ago, but now they can come up with a concept, they can market it, use social media, and before you know it, they're like, Mom and Dad, I'm making $100,000 doing my social media, but the parents are like, no, I want you to do it the right way. And that's
What is the right way?
Exactly. So that's what my message is to parents is I'm not lecturing, but I think we need to be open-minded. And it is really changing our mindset to what truly is success.
Yeah.
Because you have kids who are suffering with mental illness. They're either anxiety, they're depression. There's like a lot of, panic attacks because of the pressure. So I think we're missing that family, just that communication, bonding, really teaching your child that their self-worth is not defined by grades, but the message that they're getting, right? We praise kids who get a full ride. We like, oh my gosh, you got a 4.0. And so it makes the kids who get C's feel like there's no chance for them. And I think that's the message that needs to be taught.
Yeah. Have you heard of the influencer Gary Vaynerchuk?
No.
Gary V.
Oh, Gary V. Yeah. I know him by Gary V. Yeah.
Right. So he's all about, don't worry about school. Like complete it, get through it. But if that's your hindrance, don't worry. And play the long game. You're in life for the marathon. Don't worry about making success at 23 years old or 25 years old. You have the rest of your life to build upon that experience and build upon your work ethic and build, your little empire in the world.
Well, what studies show too that a lot of these people who do, nothing against valedictorians and people with high GPAs, but sometimes that's all they actually interviewed someone and she said, I'm a valedictorian, but I don't know like how to think on my own. You tell me what to draw, you tell me what to write. I know how to get A's in the classroom, but I don't know how to succeed outside of the classroom.
Terrible.
Which is when I realized children need to be taught not just classroom skills, but how do you survive outside of the classroom. Mm-hmm. So that involves some of my tips are learning your child's love language or learning your child's learning style and really like teaching your child how to think, not just study, because we're never taught how to think. I'm all about, building brains, learning how to reprogram neural pathways because we just think the way that we were taught. But there's so many, studies now that show how the brain works. And if we don't really learn and practice how to, like meditate or how, and schools are actually doing that, really quieting the mind and really dealing with stress. Because if you're stressed out, I have kids who are 8th grade crying. I have to work on like 5 hours a day to make sure that I get the extra credit, to make sure that I get an A. And I'm thinking, you're 13. You shouldn't be that stressed out.
Yeah. Because like with anything, you burn out.
Well, and we can't, to have a 14-year-old burnout and then they still think that they have, oh my gosh, I have college. And if you go to law school, so I've been asking children, is this your dream or your parents' dream? And they look at me and I don't know. I never thought about that.
This is what my parents have told me to do. Like, this is the path.
Yeah. So
I'm
it's only,
grades,
well, and they, right.
And then go to college and then
Buy a house.
go to higher education and then get get a job, work for somebody.
We'll climb the corporate ladder. Right.
Corporate ladder.
Get good benefits.
Get a retirement, buy a home, have family, blah, blah, blah.
And then we don't really, consider the pandemic or the adult children who are moving back home. I have a 19-year-old, the 25-year-old did move back from California, lost her job, had to move back in. And then you have adult children who have children, and it's like the boomerang generation, so that you have grandma and grandpa with, but I think in Hawaii, because we do have, multi-generational families living under one roof, it was hard for the pandemic though, because it's like we cannot have gatherings more than 5 or more than 10.
But we all live here.
Yeah, you have like 25 people.
I know. Not looking at you, Kalihi. Sorry. But yeah, that played a huge part with the stay-at-home learning and not just having a lot of people at the house, but the stay-at-home learning. Like some of the parents are going back to school or going back to work, and the kids were still at home. And that to me, like, just absolutely didn't make any sense. How you can have elementary age kids staying at home by themselves on a computer all day.
Well, then you had grandparents moving in, or you had the parent actually taking off from work, because a lot of people had the COVID leave, or they could work from home. But how do you work from home on your laptop, and you have a 5-year-old with another laptop, then you have your 11-year-old. I had a parent coach client who had 6 boys, 5 years old through 11.
That's a lot of laptops there.
A lot of laptops. And just kids focusing, hey, Mom, I need help. No, Mom, I need help. And I thought, how do you do it? Because you have to make sure that, you're balanced and you don't spend too much time on one kid. And it wasn't easy for parents. But I think once you know that your role should not be the educator, that should take a little bit of the stress off. Rely on the school. They have counselors. I was amazed at how the teachers did, set up office hours. It's Zoom, but it's much better one-on-one rather than one of 30 squares, or, when you...
One-on-one's better.
Yeah.
So here's a thought that I had a few months ago after we started slowly opening up again. I don't know if you've thought about this or if this is going to blow your mind, but the internet is the single platform that allowed us to have a shutdown. Period. If we did not have the internet, say if this was the 1980s, 1990s, COVID hits, we don't shut down. Kids still go to school. We still go to work. You can't, without the internet, you couldn't do any of that.
Right.
Right. So with the internet, double-edged sword, we have all this technology at our fingertips, but at the same time, now we're allowing ourselves to completely distance from each other, completely distance from physical workspaces, physical school spaces, and actually do this stuff from home, whereas we didn't have that capability, 15 years ago.
Right.
Thoughts on that?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, because I didn't realize that I could reach people from the UK, from Australia, from Canada. And I thought without the internet, I wouldn't be able to do this. But at the same time, like you said, when kids lack social interaction, suicide rates went up, depression went up, panic attacks went up. And we didn't realize that drug use went up. Parents sometimes didn't know what was going on, because you have your child in one room, you're in another room doing work, and then everyone's in their own rooms, and you're not realizing, is your child doing something inappropriate online? Because people can say that they're 16, but they're 41 years old with a prison record, or you don't know if your child is staying up all night on social media. I know parents, you try to turn off the internet, but kids are so tech savvy, they will find ways. And then, lack of social interaction, you're talking about sports, when you cannot, if soccer is your life, and you have no practice, you have no, in-person connections, And then now I have kids who don't want to go back because they're scared. I don't want to catch COVID. I refuse to leave my house.
That's terrible.
So it's too,
But
and
you
I
can't
said,
be that afraid.
yeah, but it depends on the messages that they're getting
Right.
from either the news or their parents, grandparents. So it's really important, I think, for kids to be educated, to feel safe. I think you and I do agree that kids should be physically in the classroom, because how can you have the whole, if you're going to learn how to communicate, and it's body language, it's actually social cues and being in person. Because what happens now, and I think I've experienced this, you have social interaction and you feel just very strange. Do we hug? Do we do the elbow thing? Do we, it's like, hi. And
No
Hawaii,
more
we're very,
headbutts.
yeah. Well, in Hawaii, we're very, very, like we love
It
to
is.
hug.
Right. It's very.
And so especially during
tangible.
graduation, I went to some of my students' graduations, and they're like, yeah, Auntie Karen, and I haven't seen them for maybe 10 years, and they used to be really little, and now they're 6'2", and then it's like such an amazing thing, and I'm glad that we are able to still hug. I'm double vaccinated. I think a lot of people are, so it's going to take time to readjust, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. Definitely is. And I hope so for the better. I hope we can get back to going to school full time, going to work full time, and just getting back to life full time. Just sports is just another one where only until recently were the parents allowed to go to the field and watch their kid. Like otherwise you had to sit in your car in the parking lot. It's like
It's not the same.
if your kid's in 3rd grade playing soccer, you're gonna drop them off and tell them to go walk like
Right.
500 yards
and then
to
I
the
guess
middle
use
of
your
the park.
binoculars and try to.
Well, what happens when your kid gets hurt or something happens,
Exactly.
or I don't know, some crazy person runs to the field and steals your kid, and you're all the way in the parking lot in your car, you can't even see what's going on. It's like, no, doesn't work. Sorry. So I'm glad that that's all opening up. And today, the governor just announced you could take off your masks outdoors. Yay.
Well, because that was confusing. I used to walk my dog, and if someone came towards me, I'm like, okay, wait, I put my mask on. Okay, now.
I don't know. Just have your dog growl at them or something so they stay 6 feet away. I had my boys in lacrosse. I was like, just make sure they're 6 feet away with your stick.
Perfect opportunity. You got to make sure.
Right. I do remember prior to the lockdowns and everything, how we would have counselors, teachers, doctors coming forward and saying that, hey, kids shouldn't have more than X amount of hours in front of a screen time, right?
Yes.
So we started limiting the screen time, and a lot of those hours were like 3 hours, 4 hours max during the day. And then the lockdowns happen, distance learning happens, and all of a sudden we take all that research and just toss it out the window. Literally toss it out the window and have kids in front of the computer screen for the entirety of the school day, and then the homework after.
And then the video games.
And then video games too, right? I throw all that in there, plus television watching. And I mean, so it's
YouTube and social media.
right. So it actually amounted to a bulk of their day in front of a screen. What
Not
was
good.
that part of the shutdown?
Well, I think
for
a
you
lot
guys?
of psychologists have been studying that, and the brain is just, it doesn't function well. And then you just even learn about even Zoom meetings with adults. It's just, I think humans were not meant to just sit there and then, because I have to watch some of these videos, and it was a 7-minute video the other day, and I'm like, can you fast forward it? Can you, and I'm thinking, this is just 7 minutes. These kids are in front of that, because, they're like, okay, so what I'm going to do is, wait a minute, and the teacher, wasn't sure and changed it. And I said, what is this for? Oh, she's supposed to show us like some kind of science concept. I'm thinking, so you do this every day? So I think with kids, first of all, being one of many, some of the office hours, I was part of one, and it's not one-on-one sometimes. So you have to wait, and then it's your turn, and then they'll call on you. So you have to wait until maybe like 7 other people go in front of you. Then you have to share it while other people are watching you doing the office hours, right?
So the whole time you're kind of sitting there waiting, fiddling.
Well, and then you feel embarrassed because of the question that you ask. You might think, oh, do I sound stupid? There's a lot of judgment going on. And then sometimes the teachers will say, well, were you paying attention? And then
It's like, nope. So I'm asking.
so my students said sometimes they'll either, oh, I'm sorry, my camera's not working, my Wi-Fi is not working, and one by one, these like black boxes appear, and they just And so there's days where my student is the only one. She goes, Miss Karen, I'm the only one there because she feels bad that everyone left. But you're one, then you wonder.
Well, the teacher's probably there, like, waiting for your daughter to log off.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you still here? I said, if your Wi-Fi is bad.
In other words, I want to leave too. Yeah. So
totally.
you wonder because if adults have a hard time or shouldn't, right? Because it's just staring at it, your eyes, your brain, then what happens when a 5-year-old, when a 12-year-old, and like you said, it's not just the school day, then you have homework, then you have the parents coming in trying to navigate not just the academic challenges, but also the technical challenges. And they're burnt out. So what is their free time? More screen time.
Yeah.
So they're checking their Instagram, they're checking their, Snapchats. They're doing, I actually did a lesson via Instagram DM because they were having a hard time with their laptop. So I did an algebraic lesson.
Via DM on
Via
Instagram.
DM.
Nice.
And so he did but it's hard. Bracket, 2 to the second power. But I thought, wow, who would have thought that Instagram DM could be a platform to teach? But I think what, like you said, it's burning us. I would be interested in knowing, like, 5 years from now, are more people going to have glasses? Are we going to have like vision problems or just focusing problems? Because it is really difficult. I have 5-year-olds carrying the laptop. I have to use the bathroom, or here's my Christmas tree. Hey, Miss Karen, and you're just physically seeing the entire house. So I think it's not beneficial academically. I think just mentally,
right.
And the emotional
right.
drain that you feel. And then you can't do things. You have to do science experiments, and then you have to like take a picture of it. Then like we were talking about, then upload it, and then sometimes it disappears, and you have to redo it. And
you send it in, and teacher's like, I didn't get it. And the kid's like, yeah, I sent it in.
Right, that happens a lot.
I swear, I submitted it.
So I say, you know what? That's okay. Let's redo it. And they're looking at me. Sorry. It's kind of like way back in college when you type a paper and then it just disappears.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cut and paste going on. Children, it's amazing how they find shortcuts.
They do. So the whole thing with screen time, I'm kind of hopeful for that it won't be so much of an issue, because technology more and more is becoming where we're actually going to get rid of the screens and go more towards, visual things over our eyes, or glasses,
like the Google
or something like that, or even contact lenses, or the Ready Player One type VR goggles where they're doing that kind of thing. So I think that's more the direction.
But then the schools might have to like provide it, or I wonder if there's a way to flip it so that you'll be doing video games, but you can pretend that you're in class.
Have you seen Ready Player One?
I did.
Did you read the book?
No, I did not read the book.
So the book actually goes really deep into their school system in that whole Oasis platform, where all the kids have to wear, the VR goggles and everything like that, which is supplied by the Department of Education. So wherever they're at, they can log in and go to school. And the school is these big virtual classrooms, and it's on a virtual planet that is like an education planet. So when you're on that planet in the Oasis, you're cut off from video games and all this other stuff. Like, you're actually in a school setting. But
wow, that would be beneficial.
There's socialization going on in the school because you're in this virtual world with other virtual people there. So that's the big difference between being at home by yourself.
One thing though I didn't realize, like my daughter during the pandemic would learn to, she played chess with people from the Big Island on Maui and and you watched like Netflix as a group, or you cook something and I thought, wow, this would not have happened. You wouldn't have been able to play chess with someone on the Big Island, or share recipes, or watch a movie in a group setting. So there are, some advantages as long as they unplug and actually make time.
Get out in the sun.
Yes.
Jeez, go to the beach.
Yeah.
Figure life out by cutting your foot or cutting your knee,
right,
or something,
right.
Falling off a skateboard, Well,
because you're too busy trying to sanitize your hands and trying to...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I've been bad with sanitizing my hands. Just stopped. I wash my hands regularly, but as far as like sanitizing my hands every time I go into a building, it's like, drying out my hands, man. Sorry.
That's true. A lot of people are getting rashes, or getting it actually cuts. One of my friends said it actually bleeds. I didn't know that. I guess if you wash too much, there's a thing as...
Yeah, because you're getting rid of all the oils and stuff on your hands. Yeah. Did you hear about the kid that was getting drunk off of the hand sanitizer because of the alcohol, right?
I never thought of that.
It smelled really
consumed it?
good. Yeah, well, it smelled really good, I guess, and like
How
put
old
some
was
of it in the
he?
mouth. I'm thinking, I don't remember. It was like third grade or elementary school level, and the kid was just like pissed drunk. The teacher was like, "What's going on?" Yeah,
Wow,
weird,
but he got
weird
his
stuff.
hand sanitizer taken away.
Yeah, well, hand sanitizer probably shouldn't smell like apple Jolly Ranchers. Yeah,
Oh, and a
it
lot
should.
of it smells really, really good.
Yeah, if it smelled like vodka, that'd be okay. I don't think kids. I don't even like the smell of vodka. I don't know. But so, other than education, with your book, is there anything else that you found that can help parents out throughout the pandemic and going
Well, I
forward?
think, like you said, we can't be isolated. So I think a lot of parents feel like they need to solve everything on their own. So I started a stressed mom support group by Hawaii Mom on Facebook.
Okay.
And then I also have these mom moments that are recorded and aired on 95.5 The Fish. And every Monday, it's like Mom Monday moments. So it could be like a 45-second tip where, do you feel like you just don't even have time for yourself? And there's like a little tip here and there. And then I'm doing mama meditations.
So where are you posting all of these things?
I'm doing it on social media. So Instagram, Letting Go with Aloha.
Okay.
And then my YouTube channel, Letting Go with Aloha. So there's consistency. And sometimes I put it on LinkedIn under Karen Gibson. But I think that there's so many resources out there. But if moms just know that they aren't alone, I'm here. And that's what my mission is. My mission is to reduce stress that parents have, just like help with reducing the chaos and know that it is possible. I know it doesn't seem possible, but it is possible to raise kids without losing your sanity. I'm not saying that your sanity will be completely, yeah. But you know what it is too? It's learning not to react.
Okay. Can you make one for dads, how to raise kids without losing your hair?
Yeah, well,
Oh, she just pointed at Tommy over there, her husband. He's bald.
yeah, he wasn't. And then raising a 19 and 25-year-old.
Wow. We just outed you, Tommy. Sorry. That was awesome. Okay. But yeah, parenting, it takes a tribe, right? And so what you're offering is like a sort of virtual tribe.
Yes, because, I know there's a lot of single dads, a lot of single moms. There's like calabash aunties or grandmas, and there's, grandpas, and a lot of people are raising kids alone, feeling, they don't want to bother
Yeah.
neighbors, they don't want to bother family members, and it's exhausting doing it as a mom and dad together. So to have one person be in charge of 4 or 5 kids, and you have to work, you have to feed them, you have to clothe them, it can be very, very exhausting. Plus you have to maybe even work virtually or actually drive to an office. And like you were saying, who's staying home with your 5-year-old?
What are the common problems that you've encountered from parents commenting on your posts or anything like that? Any common issues that they're bringing up?
Distance learning, electronic addiction,
Oh, that's a big one.
and knowing how to use it so that you're not being a dictator saying, you know what, your phone's going to be taken away. This is going to be taken away. Then there's resentment. So I did that before. My girl said, you would have parented us very, very differently, because I think the first thing we do is take away privileges. We want to make sure that we punish. And then when you learn what psychologists are sharing, we cannot punish or else there is resentment. There's a difference between discipline and being a dictator. So when your child feels that they don't have choices, or they act, you'll see kids, oh yeah, I was in prison. My mom took my social media away. My mom took my phone away. It doesn't motivate them. So it's coming up with incentives, really finding out what is going on with your child, because something's going on if they are 60 assignments behind, or if they're totally addicted. It's masking something. Do they miss the interaction with your friends? Are they going through a depression, maybe a breakup that you didn't even know about? So I think when you learn how to connect with your child and just share more, I think sometimes teenagers don't want to talk.
Right. Well, I mean, that's been
It's the main,
true
yeah. So
forever.
we just had a big discussion with my 25-year-old, and she said if we don't feel safe in sharing, they're not going to be confiding. And so when I interviewed my 19-year-old, I said, what do kids want to be heard, understood, and not judged.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems so easy, but if you know or you feel like that is a wrong decision and you say it, your child feels that you think they're incompetent. Your child feels that, you know what, you think, I can't do it. But you know what? I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to show you.
Right.
And then that creates a whole different conflict, and it can ruin family dynamics. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of parental alienation, which I didn't even know about, but a lot of adult kids are now like divorcing their parents.
I have heard about there's that one kid.
Yeah. So the parents act, no, these are like 30-year-olds who just say, I'm not going to talk to my mom. My mom's not going to see her grandchildren ever.
Right.
And it could be years and years. And then the parents feel, I mean, that must be devastating.
Right.
Never seeing your grandchildren. Mm-hmm. So I think it stems from a young age, surviving that teen emotional roller coaster, hormonal, right? That whole, just navigating it. And then knowing that, I just had someone say, I just told my kid, get out of my house. And it's, sometimes it's finances, sometimes it's.
That's huge. I mean, just to tell them
it's
something
huge,
like that,
right? And sometimes you're in their 19. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you reconnect? Sometimes it'll be like, you know what? Then I'm never going to talk to you again.
Yeah.
So I think learning not to react, pausing before you respond, which is very hard. And so one of the tips is really not believing every single thought you have, because we all automatically think, you know what? Oh my gosh, my kid is so. Why aren't they using your brains?
Yeah. And I have to remind myself sometimes that my 13-year-old was, just 5 years ago, he was just a little kid. And it's only been that short amount of time. And I can't expect him to be an adult or act like an adult just yet. He's still a little kid.
When their brains aren't fully developed.
Right. And his body got big.
Right. Well, and we expect, since sometimes they act mature or they know a lot. So male brain does mature later than
Way
women.
Slower. Yeah.
And so 24,
we just
25.
Have so much to think about.
Definitely.
And, it's just a lot of processing.
So when you have someone 24, 25, right, as a male, but then you're expecting your 19-year-old, right? And you could be in the army. You could be doing, right? You're handling the weaponry, but you can't drink until you're 21.
Yep. You can join the army at 17.
Right. And so I think you're expected to be an adult, but do you feel, sometimes my daughter says, I don't feel like I'm 25. And I said, well, I don't feel like I'm 56. Because when they go, you're a mom. And I think kids think that you have this like magical power. Like once you're a mom, once you're a dad, you must know it. And then there comes a point in time where they sometimes realize, wait a minute, you don't know it all?
It's like, nope.
So I think being vulnerable, though.
Yeah.
And letting your kids know, I don't know it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said earlier, allow them to make mistakes without judgment. I used to think, I'm very disappointed. Worst words ever to say.
Really? Okay.
Well, because when you say that, your kid really, really just craves acceptance.
Okay.
So not only do they feel rejected, they feel that they associate it with love. So then it's like, you don't love me because I got the F. You don't love me because I fill in the blank, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it hurts their self-esteem. It might make them lose motivation academically. And then it can really mess up, low self-esteem can affect everything, just the perception that you feel, and even not even thinking of achieving goals because you think, well, my dad thinks that's a stupid idea, so
I might as well not even try.
Exactly. Might as well not even try.
I'm not going to be a business owner because, he told me not to and he never did. So I can't.
Right. Or you hear, small business owners, you have to pay taxes, you have to do this, and you think of all this. I really commend you. You said that back in when no one did these podcasts, you're like, you know what?
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. I might not have as many guests, but you kept plugging. And now, it's like Pat Psyche and like all this, right? A Navy SEAL, Augie T. And I thought, wow. So now you're my role model.
All right. Thank you. What are the struggles that you've had with staying in Hawaii, living in Hawaii, and raising a family here?
I think most of us struggle financially. Mortgage, as you know, is high. And when we decided to both have our own businesses, I decided to quit teaching, that teaching isn't a very, you can't really live off just a teacher's salary. And then my husband decided to own his own auto shop. So we actually decided not to have health insurance for us for 10 years, but we made sure that our girls had it because it was something like 800 a month,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
For his employees plus us. But we thought, do we really need it? Because you'd rather have it towards a mortgage. And I never wanted my girls to feel like they had to do without, but I also wanted them to, you want the birthday parties, you want to make sure that they're able to go to prom and do all of that. But it's a struggle because every month my fear was that I couldn't pay the mortgage.
Ouch.
And the mortgage is like $3,500. Now my mom's in a care home and that's $5,300 a month.
Oh, no.
So when you talk to people on the mainland, they're like, wait a minute, how do you guys even do it? He had to start selling his auto shop parts and tools. And, we would like, can you make it? And he would run to the credit union 10 minutes before it closed.
Jeez.
And then it was, my friend said, it's okay if you pay it late. And I said, no, and it's amazing that we never missed a payment. One girl went, Friendship Christian schools and then Kamehameha, but that's still tuition plus uniforms plus, but I was talking to my daughter the other day and I said, but you never felt, yes, sometimes you witness arguments between mom and dad and finances and everything. But I think in Hawaii, I think we just have the mentality that we are going to do this. You might have to cut down on going out. You might have to find ways to modify your lifestyle. But with a lot of families living either together or like I'm an only child. My parents, my dad was from Maui, very, very poor lifestyle. My mom was from Japan, total opposite. She had like maids and everything. But then they become middle class. She lost one mom at age 9. The dad at age 16. They were orphans. And then to marry a Filipino American when you're from Japan, it was just something that wasn't done. But I grew up never worrying about money.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
My parents weren't rich. My dad, 20 years in the Air Force, 20 years at Pearl Harbor, but he taught me the importance of like budgeting and saving. But then when you become, mom and dad, it's like, Daddy, the budgeting is not going to work if you don't have like money to budget. His whole thing was you just get a spreadsheet and you have to budget and you have to do all of this. But I think it's determination and knowing that if you want to stay in Hawaii, you just find creative ways to do it. Because I know a lot of locals end up going to Vegas or Washington, but I think we wanted to raise our kids here, which I think I don't have anything against moving. And we even thought about it. Do we move to California, Texas, Washington? But I guess I don't know if I could drive there. Could Uber everywhere. But it is a struggle. It is a real struggle. And then when you hear kids who only eat meals at school, that's heartbreaking because during the pandemic, I'm glad that a lot of the schools were still open and they would drive by just for food. Right? But it is something that I think I never struggled financially until I became a parent and until we decided to have our own businesses. And that's when I became less judgmental because you realize, wow, it has nothing to do with the poor work ethic or that you're financially irresponsible. You just don't have enough to, and I didn't want to take them out of the private school thing. I mean, it wasn't like Punahou, I don't think I could do. Kamehameha and Friendship Christian, at least it was, somewhat affordable.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we just do what we can.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat, same situation, and I think the cost of living here has just continued to skyrocket. And I have multiple incomes and I'm trying to create this platform to be an additional form of income too. So I sometimes don't know how some people do it with just one stream of income or a family that has, just the father's working.
Right.
Like,
a lot of times the mom is at home and they do not have multiple streams of income. So I think that's the thing that we have to educate our children and even parents. Sometimes it's not that hard, but you really have to think out of the box, right? I mean, with you, you are totally like a pioneer in all of this multiple streams and thinking of ways that maybe are not even.
And I kind of wonder if I had lived in a more comfortable area where my salary just took care of all the bills and the home and whatnot if I would have created the things that I
You might not have had the drive. So I think sometimes when you suffer financially, you have the drive and you really want to succeed because you're tired. You're tired of suffering. So a lot of these small businesses, some of them are closing, but I bet, because we're innovators, they'll find other ways. They'll modify. They'll try to find other ways, especially with the internet. You were saying you can create a small business without, I don't, a lot of people say, can you rent a space? I mean, I would tutor before at McDonald's or at Jack in the Box or like at the town center in Mililani, and I did not have rent. It was basically my gas, created my own curriculum, and that was it. But a lot of tutors have rent, right? They either have a location, and I never once thought of that because I figure if I go to my students' homes, I would go all over the island. Now I only stay in Mililani, and then the other is just, I was so against virtual tutoring, and now I think it's one of the best things. It's different having one-on-one than, but now people are doing everything virtually, and businesses are popping up
right
like crazy.
What is your life philosophy or your life motto or favorite quote?
I'm all about perseverance, flexibility, and just being open-minded, because I think once you're closed-minded, you're going to close a lot of doors that might lead to amazing opportunities. So we need to, you were talking about how kids, we can't just prepare them for today or tomorrow, but prepare them for like 10 years down the line.
Right.
We might not know what that looks like, but you were saying about the Gary Vee quote where, you know what, your kids are right.
Yeah. Yep.
I love that, because as a parent, you think, I remember when my daughter said, I want to be a ballerina, a violinist, photographer. And at first you think, okay, I want to produce a movie. I want to write my script. And then my friend said, she could actually do it on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's you can actually, because then I said, well, you have to find an investor. You have to, and she said, are you telling me that I can't do it? And I actually had to stop and say, no, I'm sure there are creative ways. And as parents, I think that's the second, really important tip, is not to crush our children's dreams. If they want to be, the next Michael Jordan, they want to be the next, right?
Yeah, because we don't know what their dreams are going to be, and we don't know what their dreams are going to look like 15 years from now. We were talking off camera. Our smartphones are just 12 years old.
Yes.
It's not that long of a time before that we didn't have these. Having all this information at our fingertips didn't exist that long ago. Definitely not 15 years ago. We didn't have these. I still remember my Nextel. Well,
yeah, we were talking about it. We had Nextels too.
Phones. Certainly didn't have the capability to watch TikTok and
exactly.
upload to YouTube and stuff like that from the palm of your hand. So when you're looking at that, it's like, what is going to happen in the next 10 years, the next 15 years? We have no concept, but we need to be able to tell our children and prepare our children for those changes that are going to come and the adaptability that technology is going to bring.
Well, what's hard? A lot of children ask me, am I ever going to need the Pythagorean theorem? Am I ever going to learn, do I ever need to really, really know, if Jane is 3 times as old as this person, how old are they going to be 16 years from now? But I tell them it's build, people go to the gym to build their other muscles, but your brain, I talk about Alzheimer's. I talk about the importance of, you might not need the material, but you need the mental discipline, right? And just learning things that you don't want to learn. And I compare it to, what if your mom said, I'm just too tired to cook for you. I don't want to wash your clothes. No, I'm not going to do it. And their eyes are like, wait, what? I go, yeah, your mom could just say, just fend for yourself, and you're 5. I don't want to wash your clothes. So it's teaching kids that they need to do tasks that they don't want to do. And I always say that, oh, you can hate every minute of it. I don't want to do that. Oh, no, you don't have to want to do it. You just have to do it. And they look at you like, wait, what? But that's the thing, right? It's the discipline to do tasks. I'm sure with you, being a lieutenant, you're not like, I love every aspect of my job.
Oh, yeah. My boss is watching. No, but that's right. And that goes hand in hand with any avenue that you're going to go into in adult life. You're not going to be able to enjoy 100% of the things that you do. And I'm all about find something that you really want to do and you're really passionate about, and do that and earn a living doing that. But there's going to be aspects of that whether it's the accounting or hiring people or firing people that you're not going to like doing, that you're going to have to do if you want the overall goal of whatever it is that you're going to go into. There's going to be things in that industry that you're not going to want to do, but you're going to have to do it.
And it might be boredom. It might be, so sometimes I always tell kids, sometimes life is boring. Sometimes, because you can't expect, you're saying that they want to be entertained. And that's why I think virtual learning is, can be boring. But what better way to teach kids how to accept boredom than virtual learning? I mean, when you think about it, there are a lot of blessings in disguise where it's true life lessons, right? That are presented
I hate
every
boredom.
single day.
I so hate boredom. I've started to use more and more my free time. I think we were talking about this off camera, where I don't have a whole lot of free time because I've used the free hours that I have during the day and really realized that those are times that I need to start utilizing to increase my knowledge base on whatever it is that I'm going to go into or going to do. Sitting down and watching a 3-hour or 4-hour football game, it's not helping my brain really at all, unless I'm going into, football stuff or,
Side career.
drafting people or something like that. Maybe, I don't know, but just for the pure sense of entertainment, I'm trying to really limit that amount of time that I spend doing that during the day and use that time more towards figuring out things that I don't know yet.
Wow. See, and that's research, that's productivity, and just really engaging. I mean, like we were just saying, you can just research YouTube, Google. I mean, find out, like you're saying about your son, just learning about history, and it's not from a book.
Right.
Now you can actually access footage from the war or actual interviews.
Even if it's simple, crazy, silly stuff like how to get more likes and follows on Instagram, like videos like that. That's at least something that I'm learning and I'm getting value from, rather than watching someone play a video game,
Right,
streaming.
right.
It's
or eating Cheetos, or just trying to find out
what are those videos called where you can hear the chewing and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
Mukbang? I don't know. It's just ASMR or something like that. But people get that. I don't know.
Yeah, they might be getting ads for it, and who knows? I mean, it's amazing. They were just saying that some, who was it? The Rock gets over $1.5 million for each, on his Instagram.
Wow.
You just have to click on it once. So my students are like, so if I can, I said, yeah, you have to get advertisers, you have to have a product, you have to have a following. But this is where that same child will say, do I really need to go to college? So I'm all for education. But I think, like you were saying, right? But you do need to have that discipline to learn. Right now, you're learning via research and
Right. So it all ties in together.
It does.
So you say you also do Facebook Live events for
every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Hawaii time. I do a parenting segment. It's Facebook Live, and it could be everything from how do you handle conflict with your child, or is there, and I think a lot of parents have different parenting styles. So what happens when the dad wants this style and the mother wants another style? And so I'm trying to make parenting, like I said, less stressful, reduce the chaos, and just make it more peaceful and enjoyable. Because I think if the parents are happy, then our kids will have, fewer mental health issues. And just, you don't want 8-year-olds stressed out because of
No, and I'm looking at it I want my kids to be happy and successful so they can take care of me when I'm old.
Exactly. So if you stress them out, they might put you in a corner somewhere.
Right. I don't want to be that old man sitting down in a chair watching Jeopardy all day.
Right.
No. It's sorry, take care of my kids so they take care of me. So any last words for our guests out there?
I'd like to share my September Pandemic Parenting Summit, September 18th and 19th. We're having global people who will help either with motivating kids. Someone's going to be talking about PTSD and how a mom who used to work for the British Royal Navy is now, I think all of us have something, whether it's our childhood trauma or something that might impact the way you parent, but you don't realize it.
Sure.
So that's coming up September 18th, 19th, and I'll be promoting that more. But I would love to have any stressed parent call me, 808-306-5374. I mentioned Instagram, Letting Go with Aloha. YouTube channel, Letting Go with Aloha. So I have all 100 parenting tips in 100 separate videos.
Nice. I like that. I like that route. And again, all those links and everything will be in the comments and description below. So
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
of course,
I really
thank you
appreciate
so much
it.
for coming out and driving all the way from Mililani.
All the way
you
from
didn't drive.
Mililani.
Tommy,
Oh
thank
yeah,
you
I had a
Tommy.
driver. Thanks.
Thanks to Tommy for driving all the way out here. Small Island found out that your husband actually
Knows your mother.
knows my mom. Go figure. Small Island. And we didn't figure that out until like just before we started recording. It's cool stuff. It's another thing about Hawaii. Small Island.
Very small island.
the
Well, keep doing
networking
what
is
you're
real small.
doing. I think you have an amazing platform, and to support small businesses or just creating stories where people can learn from each other and just have fun at the same time.
I will. Thank you so much. All right. And as always, stay happy, Hawaii. Gotta throw the shakas. Okay. All right.